Good morning and welcome to this Sunday morning lineup here on Voice Uganda Radio. I am your host, Miss Brenda, for the next 2 hours of Freedom at Hand with my host, the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and Madam Dorothy, who will also be joining us this morning. Thank you so much for making us a part of your listening Sunday. As always, we know that we are who we are because you support us, our listening audience, and we appreciate you so much for that. We've got quite a lineup here, so I'm going to go ahead and allow the ladies to come in and greet you and say good morning, and we will go ahead and start our show this morning. Dorothy, come on in and say hello to our listening audience this morning.
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda, and thank you so much, Honorable Bakoko. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our listeners, whenever they are. Good morning, good afternoon. And we love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we are ready. We are ready to fight for Uganda. Thank you, Miss Brenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Zoe, how are you this morning?
Oh, good morning, Miss Brenda. Thank you very much. Sunday mornings, this is the day you wake up with a lot of energy and thank God every day, for giving you life. And I just couldn't be any better. Good morning, listeners. We are always blessed to be sharing with you and learning from you this morning. And I know that the fight and the struggle goes on until we go home.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm going to start out with you this morning, Zoe, because we want to pay our respects to who we consider to be a fallen hero, one of the original members of the Freedom United Front who just recently passed away this week. Just go ahead and give us a brief on who he was and what he meant to that program, and then we'll go ahead and get into the program from there.
Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel John Ogole is a founding member of Freedom Unity Front, FUF. He is one person who comes from the north, and he was able to cross the aisle, sit together with the General Sejusa and many others and say, I think it's time we go past all the things that have happened in Uganda and we form a group that is going to be looking beyond the things that have happened in Uganda, the hurt, the pain. It doesn't mean we forget, but we forgive, saying that every tribe in Uganda has suffered over the years because of our problems and the political problems we have had in that country, and particularly in these last 30 plus years when General Museveni has been in power, where many people are out of the country, many have been arrested, many have been killed. And so he is one of the main architects behind FUF, if not the main one. And we lost him. He lost his battle with prostate cancer. And this is something, Miss Brenda, we should be talking about too on one of our shows, that it's very critical that our partners, the men, go for regular checks for prostate cancer so that, it can be detected early and so that their lives can be saved. We lose a guy who was thinking, a lot about Uganda and hoping that Uganda would be free and that we would get independence, where all of us can live in unity and see each other as a fellow Ugandan and not just look at people as coming from one corner of the country or being of a different ethnic group. And so in Ogole, we lose a true son of the country, a true son of the greater north, someone who, even at the turbulent times of Uganda, I remember one thing about Ogole. that when we came back from West Nile, the Liberation War in 79 happened when I was still a student in Mulago doing my RIN midwifery. And when we came back and the UNLA had taken over, and all the difficulties of coming from West Nile, in spite of the fact that we had suffered too in the hands of Idi Amin. My own father had lost his two brothers, same mother. But, the entire place was flushed out in the Liberation War. But we came back and I had to complete my course, which had been interrupted because of the war. And this is one guy who called us and spoke to us and said, there's been a war, but you shouldn't feel less Ugandan. You should know that Uganda belongs to all of us, and let's try very hard to repair the damage and reclaim our nation. And he still was fighting for that when he was in exile for close to 30 years. So we mourn him, but we also celebrate the life of a man who has gone down in the grave fighting for Uganda. And as many of you have read in the media, his remains are going back to Uganda. And many people are like, hey, look, he fought Museveni, and now Museveni is taking his body back home. Museveni is not taking Ogole's body back home. Ogole worked in the military for many years in Uganda. He's entitled to be buried in Uganda. It's not Museveni's privilege. It's not Museveni's kindness. And that has been how low we have been, we have stooped as if everything in the country is just about Museveni. If Museveni says Bakoko must not be buried in Uganda, Bakoko must not be buried in Uganda because Museveni is the ultimate, he is the extreme. No. Kano Ogole served in the military of Uganda. And so in his own right, he deserves to be buried in Uganda. And the resources that are used to take his remains, whether it's from the family, whether it comes from Uganda, he's a Ugandan, he's entitled. And so I just wanted to say these things, and trust me, Kano Ogole, you are not forgotten. And the torch you lead will be carried up to the end. You have many people, you may not be there to see it, but we will have our freedom and independence, and we will go back to Uganda and celebrate. So please rest in peace.
Yes, and I want to say this, that the way I see him is the way that I viewed Dr. Martin Luther King here in the United States of America, a man who spent his life fighting for freedom and justice for the African Americans here in the United States of America. He died. He had a dream for the people, and he died before that dream came true. But the people, like you said, we picked up the torch and we continued onward. And we will do the same in memory of him, in the honor of what he stood for and what he was fighting for on behalf of the Ugandan people. One of the things that were written in the paper about him that I loved so much, that said he reconciled with the General Sejusi there in UK to restore a friendship of harmony. This is what we're talking about with the Ugandan people when we say we have to unite and we have to lay down our tribes, we have to lay down our genders, we have to lay down our regions, we have to lay down all the things that have been put in our minds to rule and divide. We have to put all those things aside. It is time for friendship and harmony across the country with the people of Uganda, not with the government that continues to suppress the people and cause problems, which we're going to get into that today as a part of our conversation, but harmonizing the people. I mean, we've got to start looking out for one another, because no one's looking out for us, so we're going to have to start to look out for one another. And he was one of the ones who crossed the barrier lines, as you said, tribal and otherwise, to unite the people. Dorothy, did you want to say anything on this before we move on our topic this morning?
Well, thank you so much, Miss Brenda. All what I can say, first, may his soul rest in peace, but also that we try and strive to follow such lessons and do things that matter. You know, what he did, most people, we do not understand it. Sometimes things happen. But when you say he crossed the barrier, it is not that he was in joy, but it is what he stood for all of his life, Uganda, and what matters to the children of Uganda. Not himself, not what he wanted so much, to be angry forever and die without peace, but what it is. It was Uganda for him, and he stood for that. So sometimes people make hard decisions. For me, I will take that as a lesson, and I hope that my fellow Ugandans who are listening, we follow that. We're going to have to make hard decisions. Because what are we looking at? Miss Brenda said it all. We're going to have to put our differences aside, and we need a movement, and we need to join hands and move on. We need to know what is the problem, where do we focus, and that's what exactly he did. Because he was human, he knew the general made mistakes, he himself, he had made mistakes, and he reconciled. And we need to do that for Uganda to go forward. It doesn't mean that somebody, they have just forgotten everything, and now they are friends. Now they betray us. No. What matters for me, from those few words from Miss Brenda and Honorable Bakoko, is a lesson. We have a responsibility, and he left us a responsibility to be responsible people and take Uganda forward. Every time you make a decision, just ask yourself, is this in my interest as a person, or it is in the interest of Uganda? Is it in the interest of the children of Uganda? I think that's what Minister Ogore did for us. Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Talk about focus, ladies. Last week we talked a lot and got on some topics with the First Lady there in Uganda, Janet Museveni. This morning we're going to go back to her a little later on in the program, but we want to talk about this family line of hers, because her brother Sam Katesu right now, I mean, if you go out there and Google him, he probably is under a rock hiding somewhere, because right now it's not a good position to be in under the hands of the sitting president. This man destroys everything one way or another, and this man who seemed to have had a brilliant career, it is going nowhere right now with everything happening there in the General Assembly there in the United Nations with all the news on him. Zoe, let's start the conversation in on that, because we must not be silent, and we must not forget that this is not a position. I mean, it would be an honor for Uganda to have this position, but not at this particular time in history.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miss Brenda. It is just a very depressing thing. You have a country which should be taking the presidency of the United Nations, where everybody should be dancing and cheering, but here we are walking with our heads down, ashamed and embarrassed even to be a Ugandan, to be able to go and take the presidency of the United Nations, stained as we are, because at this time, to allow Uganda to take the presidency is just like rewarding the Ugandan government for all these things that they are doing to the people of Uganda. You can imagine, yesterday was the International Press Freedom Day, And if you look at the article and the figures which they have put in that article, how many radios over time have been shut down by this government because people were discussing democracy and talking about the wrong things that NRM, President Museveni and his government are doing. And people have been silenced by either being arrested, being put in jail, having all these kind of protracted struggles, being, the torture. It's just unbelievable. And here is Honorable Kutesa, a foreign minister who knows that all these stories and all these things that are happening in that country are wrong. And he cannot advise his president. They are co-husbands because his late wife was a sister to Janet Museveni. And so President Museveni and Sam Kutesa are like co-husbands. So the whole thing, they have made that country a family business. He is a lawyer, and someone would have heard his voice, even for once, in the papers saying, Mr. President, this is not right. He has never been heard, not even in international media, talking about the wrong things that that government has done. He's cheering the president for going to Sudan to fight alongside Kir and escalating the war in Sudan.
Wow, what a family line.
Really, and he's silent on the corruption in Uganda. He's silent on these recent laws. He's a lawyer on these recent laws which have been enacted in Uganda. For example, the Public Order Management Act, which is silencing people, where people have been tear-gassed and beaten if they organize and try to discuss issues of politics in that country. The anti-pornography law, where women are being stripped naked because they are wearing what in the mind of somebody. They don't even say what is the length of the clothes that you are supposed to wear above your knees. But as long as it's above your knee, according to Minister Lokodo, that you are, as a woman, people should rape you if they think you are not dressing properly. And the women activists try to rise up to say, this is wrong. You are attacking women, and they get tear-gassed because of the Public Order Management Act. And then the anti-homosexuality law, where if you are living outside Uganda and you are known to support homosexuals, you should be deported or repatriated back to Uganda so that you can be charged according to the law. And then people who are there, they are subjected to life imprisonment. If you are unfortunate, the jungle law, the public beats you and burns you like the other very, very unfortunate people who died in the hands of, people taking the law in their hands. And Honorable Kutesa, he's a lawyer. He's the minister in charge of foreign affairs. He is the one who wants to be a president of the General Assembly come June. He has never raised his voice anywhere. Nobody has heard him saying, this might not be right. Just to raise his voice, nothing. And so for me, I think the president is desperate because Uganda has got some pending issues. Like recently, the United Nations has been investigating Uganda because they're having dealings with North Korea. You saw it in the press. The president came out and said, I don't care. For me, North Korea is training my military and my police, and I will deal with them as long as they support me, and nobody chooses my friends.
Yeah.
Honorable Kutesa has not raised his voice about that. And again, you know, Brenda, this is really something we have to talk about. Uganda is supposed to pay the Democratic Republic of Congo over $10 billion for the plundering and the many crimes they created in Congo. And
Monies of which
Honorable
they'll never
Kutesa
see.
has not even said a word, in
Yes.
spite of the fact that Congo has become the epicenter of rape against women. And so how can you give such a person a silver plate and tell him to go and sit as a president? That is not fair. And so
Exactly.
it's not fair. He doesn't deserve it. He's just coming there to clean up Museveni's mess and try to, you know, they want to clean up all this confusion and then come out after 1 year when there's nothing, you know, on Uganda's record.
Yeah, we won't allow that to happen. Let me tell you, this public management bill is going to backfire on them because they may silence the people of Uganda, but those of us in the diaspora, those of us in the outside world, we see that. And to us, we have to act and respond. And I am very, very happy for the first time in the history of the Ugandan people, I'm seeing an uprise. I'm starting to see people, a few years back even, things would come out about Uganda and they would die in the media. Things would come out and they would die in the media. We have started to keep things alive. We have started to put pressure on this administration to change the ways in which they are responding and reacting to the Ugandan people. Dorothy, come on in on the conversation because, I mean, when we talk about the public management bill and the silencing that it's doing in Uganda, we can not say that that's the same on the outside world. I mean, that's why Sam Kutesa is getting so much pressure right now because the Ugandan people and the world speaking out against what's happening there in the country.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. Let me start with this. I think, and I know for sure, something happened here last year. Something that any person, anywhere, any concerned and responsible citizen of any country, and even when you are out of your country, when something would make you stop and you say, wait a minute, where am I? This is wrong. What is happening to those people over there? As you know, Miss Brenda, yesterday was the National Day of Journalists, right? Yes. We have journalists in different countries oppressed. Many are dead. Many are in prisons. Museveni, let me get this right. We understand that Honorable Kutesa, he is the spokesperson of President Museveni, and he's also his top advisor. And then he's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Now, last year, an American citizen, responsible citizen, Mr. Taylor, found himself in Uganda, in an unfamiliar city, where the citizens of the country were being oppressed by the police. As a responsible citizen, yes, he's a journalist, but I think anybody, if you had a cell phone, if you had a camera on you, you would like to capture what was happening, what was wrong. That the police, we know in America, when I have a problem, when I'm scared, when I'm lost, when I think somebody is up to hurt me, I run for the police, I call for the police. Mr. Taylor stopped to see what was happening, and he wanted to make sure that the citizens of Uganda are okay. But this fellow journalist was beaten, his camera was taken, he was arrested. Now, he was a visitor. To Uganda, he was a visitor who came to tour Uganda and do what he was supposed to do. But that was the way he was supposed to be treated. But Mr. Kutesa, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, what did he do? Did he say anything? Now, Mr. Honorable Sam Kutesa, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the top spokesperson and advisor of President Museveni, you are not going to tell me that he does not know what happened in Congo, the raped capital of the world. Honorable Kutesa is, as Honorable Bakoko has stated, he is a lawyer by profession.
So the interesting thing about this, he's not only silencing the voice of the people of Uganda, but all of those in his cabinet. And now we're talking about his wife and her brother. There seems to be silence in the family as well. That, like Honorable Zoe Bakoko said when we first came on, if Museveni doesn't want it, it doesn't happen. If you can't come to Uganda to be buried, you don't come to Uganda. And I'm starting to sense that same thing with family members, that what he says goes. I don't think anyone has control over this individual. Anyone at all.
What he wants gets done.
What he wants,
and
yes,
it is him
good.
who desperately wants the chair of the General Assembly. It's not Kutesa. He's pushing Kutesa to be there. And he knows that Kutesa will go and clean his dirty linen once he gets to the General Assembly. He's going to clean his dirty. They have not paid a penny to a dime to Congo. They have been doing all these bad things. And as a lawyer, Kutesa is going to come and manipulate and tell how good Uganda has been in Somalia, in keeping peace and etc. That is wrong.
It is wrong, and it's not true.
It's a lie, and they just want to lie and lie. They have been lying to many people, and today, as you said, Brenda, the world is beginning to see the truth about these people. That they are not who they have been pretending to be. And so how do you reward such a people and give them a huge position like this in the United Nations to manipulate the world?
Tell me this, Zoe, and Dorothy, you can comment on this too. If all of us on the outside world and those of us in the diaspora can see that these individuals are being used to further this man's career, to make him look good, to clean up his dirty laundry, as you said, why are these people not seeing this and still allowing themselves to be used? Because every time someone goes out in exile, the horrible things are said about them, and and we know it's a part of the president saying. But these people are going out in exile because they understand and they know that they have no issues there. They can't make any decisions that will stand or be based in any way, and the government can turn against them at any time. And yet we have these individuals, maybe it's because they're family members, that they feel the need to continue to protect and control him. But do you feel that these individuals see and understand the purpose in which they're being used? I mean, because they're only being used.
Of course, but in this situation, Kutesa is a beneficiary. He's one of the core family members. And so for him, protecting Museveni is protecting himself. And
wow,
so therefore...
He's been thrown to the lions, though, because look at the way the world is viewing him right now. Go out there and Google him. There's nothing really pleasant after you read about his education that's out there on him. Go ahead, Zoe.
Yeah, absolutely. People are now coming to their senses and saying, oh my God, this is what is happening. Because people never get interested in what is happening in the United Nations. The Americans are always busy with their own affairs, not about what is happening in New York. And so now people's attention has been drawn to this issue. And with the article out there, just Google Sam Kutesa and you see everything there. And people are signing that petition.
Yes.
They are getting worried. And so people should continue signing the petition. We cannot stop. And the U.S., Senator Kerry, the Secretary of State, must deny this guy the visa. We cannot allow him to be the president of the General Assembly. It's not right.
Yes, not with all of the atrocities and the things going on in the country. Dorothy, I mean, we're talking about a family line here of siblings who seem to have the same sort of characteristic about the way they handle and the way they do things, or is it just that this sitting president has so much power over the minds of people that they no longer think for themselves?
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Brenda. Once again, let me explain a little something here. Now, with the way President Museveni it works, you might be a family member, but I tell you, if you disagree with what he wants to be done, you are going to be punished. You might be a close friend, but if you don't agree with what he wants to be done, you are doomed to be punished. We can take an example of the Prime Minister, Amama Mbabazi, okay? You cannot disobey. The man is a micromanager. It is what he wants to be done there and then, okay? But we cannot sit here and say that people also, they do not know what they are doing. They cannot separate the right from wrong. Now, here is that what it is. Here, let me give you an example. As we know, we discussed last time, along the years, so much has happened. In Uganda, it is like Museveni has a route, or Museveni wants to root something, or he wants something, okay? Because we have another example right here. Honorable Bakoko can help us. Because if you don't do what he wants, you become the enemy, you become the criminal, okay? Now, let me go back to the first question you asked. What is it that, is it too much power that President Museveni does have, or does the people, they just, his family, he owns them, he feels entitled to do whatever he says? Now, Kutesa, as we said, it has been one scandal after another, embezzlement after embezzlement, corruption after corruption. You remember very well he protected him during the Chogamu money. The money ended up with almost $4 million. We know what happened during Tulo, okay? We know what happened when he embezzled the taxpayers' money to renovate his own hotel. So now, when he protects you, he put out, because remember, the trials were halted, everything, the witnesses were scared off, nobody could come to stand up to say what they know, what they saw, the lawyers, the judges, Museveni just picks up the phone call, and everybody is intimidated, right? Now, if President Museveni wants Kutesa to do something for him, and Kutesa is like, no, he either runs out of Uganda or he obeys, because he knows some time back, Museveni bailed him out. That is the same scenario with Mbabazi. It's like you have something on me, I have something on you. So that is the same thing. It goes to my beloved, respected Honorable Bakoko. Okay, he comes here to the NSS, the man are being swindled, then he dropped it to her that the man is being stolen, you need to investigate. She does a fabulous job, find out what is happening, where does the money go, but she does not stop there. She manages to work so hard and almost to triple the earnings, more than 50% of what was being earned, because the money was being swindled. Now President Museveni wants Honorable Bakoko to help him steal the money. But Honorable Bakoko says no. Now Honorable Bakoko must die or run for her life out of Uganda. This is the story, Miss Brenda. This is how it happens. Honorable can come in here and bail me out, how it works.
And we got a call coming in, so I'm going to take this call real quick. But let me say this. These are the people that are running the country, and they want the rest of us to sit back and allow them to continue to do this? It's insane. Go ahead, caller. Introduce yourself and come on in.
Hello, good morning, ladies, and good morning to all listeners.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, good morning. This is Chiwanuka calling from New York. I am pleased that you are actually keeping the fire burning under the seat of Kutesa in regards to their plan to carry out their criminality and extend it to the international fora of the UN. I will step a little bit back and talk about what you started with when you talked about Okanogole. I think there is a symbol here that we must put a hold on what divides us and aim for what unites us. I think we need to focus on unity and solve the national problem before we start thinking about the parochial, personal, tribal, ethnical, religious, political party desires. What is happening in Uganda, the idea of divide and rule has been extended to every facet of administration in Uganda. Museveni is playing a major game to keep us divided. He is persuading people from the western region, primarily the Bahima, to believe that they are in power, whereas it's just his family that is in power. That is the aim of dividing Ugandans, whereby people like Sejusa, who is a Muhima, should not be talking to Ogore, who is a Langi, and he feels uncomfortable when I'm one from the central and I'm speaking to Madame Bakoko. This is a game he has played in very artistic ways, and he continues to do it. Madame Bakoko comes from West Nile, and she knows the crisis we are currently facing between the fights that are going on between Terego and Vula. These are basically large clans of people who had lived together peacefully. But Museveni comes in and decides to play a game, divide them by creating these insubstantial districts where they are now fighting over assets, and he has already sown the seed of division within West Nile. West Nilers in Uganda are among the people who have seen themselves for the longest as a singular unit, despite having many clans and many ethnic entities that exist there. But now Museveni has thrown the spanner in the wheel, and everything is becoming a mess in that region. So I think the reaching out of Ogole and Sejusa to come together, for many Ugandans, should work as a symbol that we have a very unclean past, but we cannot continue to keep it unclean. One of us has something and the other has something. We need to come together and clean our past and merge out of it as a seed that has fallen in the ground, rotten for so long. We need to germinate. And the only way we can germinate and bear meaningful fruits is to see each other as brothers, as sisters, and move within one format, which is Uganda, and liberate this country from the people who have decided that everything has to go within the family. Hence, coming to the issue of Sam Kahamba Kutesa. They are getting, Kutesa by all means, he's a brilliant lawyer. You cannot take that away from him. So Museveni has identified within the family who is brilliant enough to come and do their bidding at the UN. And they have picked on Kutesa. What is unfortunate is the level of intellectual dishonesty, because this is not intellectual bankruptcy, it's a dishonesty that Kutesa is exhibiting. He knows very well what the government of Uganda has been doing. He knows very well that his brother-in-law, Yoweri Museveni, has publicly stated that I am a war journal, not a classroom journal. And they are going to go on and do all these dirty things that we have enumerated in the last 2 weeks. So it's upon us as a nation to stand up and stop Kutesa. But also, the onus is on the global community that is interested in democracy, that is interested in liberty and the people's freedom. They need to come on board. Kutesa is coming with dirty hands at the table of the UN. So he cannot be dipping his hand in the same pot to poison what the UN is intended for. For example, one of the issues that came out when Secretary John Kelly visited Sudan is the idea of children soldiers. Those of you who are into the media, you saw the pictures that came out yesterday. Children who are 13, 12, who are shorter than the AK-47s they are carrying weapons in southern Sudan, alongside the Ugandan army. That cannot be allowed. And we cannot allow someone who is working under a government that is perpetuating this criminality to come and participate in the UN. Hence, he should be denied a visa. Hence, the US should object with all its power. France, Germany, any other country. This is a responsibility we have to take. Not because it's about Uganda, but it's about humanity. Because the recruitment of children soldiers, which Museveni did in Ruwero, in northern Uganda, is what he is carrying on. Now, when it comes to the issue of children soldiers or child soldiers, there is a facet that Kutesa is involved in a very interesting way. Kutesa has a hand in about 3 banks in Uganda. And one of those banks, as I said last week, is run together with Lady Linda Choka and Thatcher's son, who is based out of South Africa, who was actually about 5 years ago arrested for attempting to overthrow the government of Angola because it was not letting them access the oil or the way they wanted to access it. There is a company here in the US which used to be called Blackwater. It has since changed its name to XE. And that company in Uganda works with another company called Salasen, which is owned by Museveni's brother, Salim Saleh. But the shareholders include Sam Kutesa. Salim Saleh owns 56% of the shares, and I think Kutesa has 15 shares in that company. Now, today as we speak, what Museveni did when they went to northern Uganda, they were able to retrieve all the child soldiers that had been taken by Joseph Kony. They brought them to Kampala, retrained the child soldiers. Some of them, their ages were pushed up to say they are 19 to be accepted into international service. And these children were taken by Salasen to work as security guards in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Now, many of them, when they returned to Uganda with the injuries, money was being paid by AIG, which is an American insurance, through a bank run by and owned by Sam Kutesa. They have not received their monies. Hence, a case has been instituted against the US government because those who tried to bring the case figured out that if you sue Uganda, in Uganda, you're not going to be able to get anything. So There is a lawyer who has brought a case against the U.S. government representing one of the child soldiers from Uganda, and provided it was one child soldier, Salitwaha. Now he's representing about 60 Ugandan child soldiers who were taken to Iraq, and they're suing the U.S. government, trying to force AIG to pay them their health benefits and the money that they were supposed to be earning. According to the billing, the U.S. government was paying $1,000 per month for each soldier. In Uganda, each soldier who was in Iraq, or one of these children soldiers, were being paid $400. The $600 is deducted off their pay as service fees. So how, in today's world, would we allow somebody who is involved in this deep, bone marrow deep corruption to come and be the chair of the UN? Yes. And be the president? This has to be stopped. Not because it's an issue regarding Uganda, but this is an issue regarding humanity. Because if he brings that filth, believe me, people say if you fight with a pig in its pigsty, you're going to get dirty. Okay. If you lay down with a dog, I promise you, you will wake up with its flea. So this is what is going to happen to the UN. If they allow these tainted people to come in, they will leave the UN tainted. The UN will be negatively impacted. Yes, Uganda would gain prestige, but what prestige at the expense of human lives? So we need to work harder, and I appeal to all Ugandans to sign the petition. I appeal to all Ugandans, let us unite together and force the UN and the US to step back from shaking hands with Yoweri Museveni by touching Kutesa. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much for all of your comments. And wow, that was very informative. Zoe, I'm going to go ahead and go to you because I know you have a lot that you want to feed off of that the chair just shared. And also Dorothy had brought you in on the back end of the conversation talking about, the corruption that you were finding in what you were doing. But we have one more call. We're going to take this, and then Zoe, we're going to go directly to you with those comments. Go ahead, caller. Come on in.
Yes, good morning, Miss Brenda. Good morning, Honorable Bakoko and Miss Dorothy. My name, as usual, is Musana. And I thank you guys for the job well done, waking up every Sunday morning to come and give us this program. First of all, I want all Ugandans to know that we have the power to stop or do anything. If we want Museveni out this week, we can do it. If we don't want Sam Kutesa, to become the president of the General Assembly, we can do it. But you know what the problem? We are dilly-dallying around the issues. We know what we have to do. We have so many Ugandans in USA. Especially we have some or many Ugandans in New York. We know where the voting is going to take place. We are not like we are in Uganda. We are not like we have to go get tickets or visa to come here. A lot of Ugandans, they are here in the U.S. All we need is to sacrifice and stop talking, let us sacrifice. If we do this, we go and picket at the UN in great numbers. This could send a message. But we cannot sit down or listen to the radio and talk about it. We have to do some actions. I want people to understand or to remember during the independence fighting in Uganda, people were brought in buses to the city to demonstrate, to show their displeasure of the colonial government. And this sent a message to UK. Ugandans must wake up and stop waiting in line for somebody to do what they think is right, because we can do it. We have the numbers, we have the brains, we are educated, we know what's wrong, we know we have a murderer as president, but the only thing we have to do, or the only thing that we have failed to do, is to get together and go take it United Nations. Stop sitting on your seat and expect that somebody is going to do this for you. It's you yourself. As we have a saying, that you must pull that hair out of your nose. Nobody's going to do it for you. You know it's there. You don't look good, but you know what to do. You have to go and pull that hair out of the nose by yourself. We have to do this. First of all, this is a man, Sam Kutesa, who is master or king of corruption. This man, as I understand, his business in Uganda gives him 83 million shillings a day, not a month, not 2 months, not a year, but 83 million shillings a day. And he has not paid his employees. This is the guy who is so corrupt, and he never cared about Ugandans. How in the world can we let this corrupt individual, a man we know that he was not rich, a man we know that he himself is a lawyer, and they put up these sham laws where all public people or public officials to claim or to show how much money they have, and Kutesa has not even honored that. And here we are talking about Sam Kutesa becoming the next president of the General Assembly. This must stop. We can do it. You, my friend who's listening to me, you have an obligation. Like you went on your own to get a visa to come here. You are successful. Perhaps you doubted yourself that you will get a visa to come to the United States. We know how difficult it is. But you took that initiative on your own, and you're free, and you're able to get a visa to come here. The same attitude you have to show, the same attitude and resilience you must have, and say, okay, I'm here in the United States, now what? No way, Jose. I'm going to go to the United Nations and picket this man. We should all come up with a day, and let us announce the day that Uganda should go and picket. We have the capacity, we have the radio. We can say, okay, we understand that voting is going to take place in June, and we do understand that Kutesa will take his position, if given this position, which it seems he will, in September. Let's put up a fight. Let's put up a stand. Come June, let's go. Or come before end of June, let's have a day that we all can congregate and go fight this man where it counts the most. Now, I'm going to go back to about this guy, so-called Museveni. This man has boasted time and time again as being Sabarwani. Sabarwani means somebody who is a fighter. A fighter, you kill people. And this man is so proud of that as an honor, giving himself that title. And we go on and cheering. It's like somebody who says, I am the one who kills everybody, or I am a murderer. Somebody has declared himself to be a murderer. We cheer them. Sabarwani is the same as a murderer because you kill people. Uganda population has guns. The most country in Africa with individual guns in their homes. And these people with individual guns, they are all mainly from one area, the West. And these are the hard. Some of them they look after cows with guns, AK-47. We have a man who is a certified violence individual in Museveni. If you remember, when he was in Mozambique, as we said yesterday on Gwangamje program, in Mozambique, Museveni quoted in his own thesis that I'm talking about this was given by Fanon's theory. Finally said that in order to subdue your people, to put fear and let them and rule them forever, you must show them brutality. And he gave an example where they killed a white man, blonde white man, grabbed his head and went and showed the public that what they could do. This put fear in the people of Mozambique. And it's the same thing Museveni did to Basil Batalingaya. This gentleman, a noble man, a very good Ugandan, was killed and his head was paraded on the tree. Now, whose theory is this? It wasn't Musana's theory. It was not Obote's theory. It was not Amin's theory. This theory is Museveni. And this is where he did a thesis on. And here we are. We have an individual's head being paraded or being tied on the tree. As I'm going to end my call, I want my fellow Ugandans to understand there is one thing and one thing only. A gun is made specifically for one purpose, to kill. It is the only instrument of death that's made to do nothing but kill. And we have a violent man who has done this to our country. And we are sitting and screaming about some Kutesa. We know what to do. Museveni is a killer. He has given the instrument of death to so many Ugandans. As I speak now, a lot of Ugandans being killed every single day. We had an example of Julunga, who was shot and killed, shot 4 times. This gentleman, as we said yesterday, he was a young man fighting for his country. As we said, he got a call, and sadly, this call came from his own friends, directing him to go to a certain place. As we said yesterday again, he got a border, and this man who was a border was doing his job, perhaps to take care of his family. His name was Sentongo. They reached there, Sentongo was shot after doing his job, and then this man, Julunga, this young gentleman, was shot 4 times, taken to the Lubaga hospital. And then the guard himself from the hospital took the patient out and took this patient to the Lubaga police station. Just imagine. And somebody has the audacity to tell us that we are just talking about these things. Museveni doesn't kill. He's a murderer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your program and the pleasure for me to call in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Musana. Go ahead, Zoe. We were going to you when he called in. I tell you, 83 million shillings a day and you're not even paying your people. Go ahead, Zoe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brenda. I just want to thank both our brothers, Mr. Musana and Mr. Kiwanuka, for their deep insight and their contribution to this debate. And I will just start with where Mr. Musana has left. Ms. Brenda, I was talking to a few Ugandans over the last 2 weeks, and my question was, which has been coming on all our shows, that why is the Ugandan community, particularly the elite, why are they not, joining hands with the people to rise up against Museveni? And this is what some of them told me, all of them told me. But it boils back to what Mr. Musana has been saying, the fear that Museveni has actually, the fear that he has built in the community, and the fact that, if you speak, just like our sister Dorothy said earlier too, you speak against him and your throat is either cut or you keep quiet and you take care of your family. If you are killed, your children become orphans and your wife is a widow and you don't know the future about them. And if you keep quiet and look the other way, you suffer, you are tortured mentally and physically, but you are at least there to be able to pay school fees for your children and keep them in school and feed them, even if it's not the best and you are with the family. But one thing came out, one thing stood out from all these discussions I had with these Ugandans. As Mr. Musana said, there's a lot of guns in Uganda. And I was told that people living in these supposed to be, high, these neighborhoods, which are supposed to be better off, that you find out that your neighbors have guns and you don't even know who has given them the guns. The guys are like, it is the government which is giving them the guns. Museveni right now is so scared that he's arming people the same way they sent out trucks and trucks and trucks of machetes to Rwanda before they gunned down the plane which was carrying President Habyarimana and his counterpart, the president of Burundi, and those Frenchmen. They transported truckloads of machetes, and those machetes are the ones they use to slaughter people. Now in Uganda, he's giving out these guns, which is going to be killing our people. It's a very frightening thing. And so people are very cautious because he has his intelligence everywhere up to the grassroots. And so the people who ordinarily, the educated people ordinarily who would be actually debating and talking about the democracy and the fact that things are not working in Uganda and telling Museveni to get out are so scared that they know if you speak out, you will be killed. And so we have to talk about this. We have to expose this because this man is used to killing people. As Mr. Musana just says, he uses this theory which they learned in Mozambique, where somebody was talking about killing a white person and sticking his head out. And if I can testify to this, because in Arua, in West Nile, Museveni's soldiers, they would enter in Congo, and during the time they invaded Congo, they killed some people they associated with the rebellion who came from West Nile. And these were people who had run away from West Nile at the height of the war. And they were living in Congo with their families. But they were fished out and killed, and their bodies were tied onto the jeep and pulled through the street. You know, the West Nile has, as Mr. Chiwanuka was saying, we are people who have lived together as different tribes. We respect the dead as Ugandans and as people from West Nile. And for you to see a dead body being pulled through the streets of the city, and this is somebody you know, everybody will just put their hands on their cheeks and they're just like, oh my God. And so the kind of fear this guy has created among the people from one area to another has just been phenomenal. And it is that fear which is keeping the elite class to be so guarded in trying to raise their voices. On the streets, it's not the educated class who actually try to demonstrate. And so I think we need to join hands. We need to come out. And we need to expose these things. And Uganda, I am worried with the Museveni. I think it is Anyako Amadava. That's what the Lugara say. You don't eat, I don't eat, we pour it in the sand. And they normally talk about sesame. You know, sesame seeds. If you pour sesame seeds in the sand, can you eat that sesame seed again? Because the sand is going to be so mixed up and your teeth cannot take on the sand. And so for him, it is, if you people are pushing me out, nobody will have Uganda. We have seen Museveni's strength of how he has tortured people, intimidated people, and killed people. It has been systematic, the same in Luero, the same in the north, the same in West Nile, the same in Rwanda, the same in Congo, the same in Sudan right now. The guy is out of control. He has to be stopped. And the thing is, we also have to be prepared, like Mr. Chiwanuka said earlier, walk past our differences. And that unity, if we hold our hands together, is what is going to stop Museveni, to make him use those guns he's distributing around against our people.
Yes, we've got another call coming in, Zoe. I'm going to go ahead and take this caller. Hey, caller, are you there?
Hi, Miss Brenda. Good morning over there, and good afternoon to all our listeners.
Good morning.
I would like to also to say hi to your panel, Honorable Zoe and my sister Dorothy. Today, I do have a question for Honorable Zoe, and then from there, maybe I will go on with a comment that I want to put forward. Honorable Zoe, my name is Karimagez. You call me the activist as well from the UK. As you were in the NRM government, I would like to ask you, what did you see, or what good thing did you see the NRM government brought to the people of Uganda?
Is that your question to Zoe?
Yes, please.
Okay. Zoe, did you understand what he was asking there?
Yeah, it's a very loaded question.
Yes, I think so too.
And I want to thank our activist and Magesi. At the time when NRM came into power, I think all of us are aware of this. In 1986, Uganda had been at its lowest point with so many things that had happened. For some of us, we were pushed out of the country. We had lived in Sudan and in Congo in exile, taken care of by the UN, and other times taking care of ourselves and just struggling in those countries. And so when NRM came to power, I guess everybody knows and understood and believed that this was going to be a huge relief, because Museveni spoke about very convincingly at the time that he was against people who overstay in power, he was against corruption, he was against brutality. And so people believed, and you know that everybody was like about, okay, we have got peace. That is what NRM brought, peace. But 30 years down the road, I think it was just a
decoy to power, it seems.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And go ahead with your comment, caller, so we can...
Because according to what I see, but my question was, the good things that she saw herself during her stint in the cabinet. Was there some of the good things that she saw people enjoying? She saw the government officials carrying out that right now when she's out of the government, she doesn't see them. There are some of the stuff that you saw that the NRM was carrying out during your stint in the government that right now they are not doing them, or what?
I don't know if you understood that, Zoe, but I want to say one thing to that as well. From what Zoe has said, from all of those that we know that have been in positions of power that are now in exile outside of the country, from the comments that Dorothy made, our other two callers earlier, our hands are tied in this government. I don't think anyone in the NRM, I don't think anyone anywhere in the government is able to do justice to the Ugandan people like Zoe Bakoko was doing in her position, simply because the government does not allow anything to happen outside of the structure. The structure being the president being the head, the few people that he trusts underneath him. I don't know how anything good can come out of Uganda right now as far as the government part of it is concerned. So did you have another comment you wanted to make? And yes, I'm going to go ahead and bring Dorothy in on the conversation.
You know why I asked such a question? Because today I saw the president at the official opening of the church, one church today. He told the people he told the audience that he's repenting. He's repenting from the atrocities that the NRA committed during the Bush War. And I just want to ask that is it like the man is realizing that he has reached his critical moment, or how do you guys see? Because you, Miss Zoe, you were with him. You one day maybe you had face-to-face meeting with him. Such a statement to come out from his mouth, does he see that the clock is ticking or what?
Yeah, and I'll let both the women on the panel answer that. Let's go to Dorothy real quick first, and then we'll go to Zoe, because this is my comment on what you were saying. I think his repentance is because he's haunted by the fear of the unknown. I think pressure's on him. I think people are making movements. I think he's questioning a lot of things. And we all repent and ask God's forgiveness when we don't know and we're not certain of the outcome of where we're going. Dorothy, go ahead and respond to that, and then we'll let Zoe go ahead.
Okay. First of all, Mr. Kalimagezi is a little bit unclear to me. Who is repentant?
The president was, in his statement, I'm quoting the words he was saying today at the official opening of the church, that he's repenting from all the mistakes he made, and then the atrocities that the NRA made towards in the Bush War.
Yeah, so this is the president he's talking about, guys. He's talking about.
Okay.
That's why I made the comment that I made, because I understood that.
Okay.
Yeah, now I understand too.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dorothy.
We know some time back President Museveni came up and apologized on behalf of what our ex-president Idi Amin did and Obote. And then he also came up and he said that they were intolerant. Uganda, they have wasted the resources. People have died because of insecurity, because they were intolerant. So now he's coming to the reality. Is that an adjustment that he's sorry for what the NRM has done? Well, I don't know if that is a true apology or not, because he's been in power for 30 years. He knows what he has done, and he continues to do so. Because if he's really repentant and he thinks he's going to take Uganda anywhere, it would be so that so many Ugandan children are dying in southern Sudan right now. Like yesterday, they reported over 400. Now it seems like the Ugandan children are not enough anymore because they died in Congo, they died in Rwanda. Now they have to go and buy armies from Egypt. How did the Egyptians end up there? He wants what he wants, when he wants it. It is his order, and nothing else matters. So the only thing that he want to make himself apologize, he's looking at 2016, as everything is about 2016. So he's going to come out and do everything possible to fool the Ugandans. Now he has managed to take, as you read the papers, the economy is in a horrible situation. It keeps dropping because, we are not yet there. They're going to drain everything out. As you see, all the budgets, everything is cut, everybody is suffering, but you hear people in the West, you hear people in Central, you hear people in Busoga, you hear people in everywhere they are fighting for this little handout. A few million shillings is handing over people, confusing them until the election day. That will be my response he's doing that, and that's the only reason he's doing that. Now
we'll go. Okay, let's go to Zoe and let her answer it too.
You know, Museveni is a flip-flopper in whatever he says. I would be much clearer if he came out, outlined the atrocities that he's talking about, where they happened, to whom they happened, where he thinks he's not his soldiers. He should be apologizing for himself, not for his soldiers, because he is the one who has been ordering these soldiers as the commander-in-chief what to do. And he, at the time they committed the so-called atrocities, he was silent. It's now he thinks that it is relevant for him to talk about this. Why is he talking about this? He's building a case. I think we spoke about this weeks ago when we started this show, when Museveni was apologizing about what happened in Bukura, where people were burned in a train, and when he was talking about things which happened in Bochora, in the north, where people were killed. He was talking about that because he was trying to build a case and direct this towards who was the commander in that position at the time, where he would eventually say, these are the people. And in the middle here, he realized it wasn't working. So he went to the youth and tried to build this sole candidature business in Chankwanji, where he asked my daughter Anita to come out and recommend him and as the sole candidate for NRM come 2016, which also has created a snag, because just as Dorothy has said, the money he gave out, it's creating a lot of fights in the communities. The whole thing has not gone smoothly as he had expected. So his game with the signing the Anti-Homosexuality Act gained him prominence for a few days, and then he thought that he was going to sell his candidature after that as as the sole candidate, and people were going to say, yeah, here comes our hero who is going to stop our children from being abused by homosexuals. He is our only candidate. Unfortunately, that thing ended, and now people were seeing this money coming, and these are hungry people who have no jobs. He has not planned for the country to have young people employed. 80%, 83% of the youth are unemployed. And now he created another problem. He thought that he would fight Mbabazi and arrest the young people, and he found out that it didn't work. And as you saw in the papers too, the young people, the case charges against them have been dropped, the Mbabazi youth. And so there's been a lot of things happening. The guy is trying to figure out what is going to be appealing. There is no apology there out of Museveni. Museveni is not the kind of person who apologizes. If you have heard, I did hear him in the cabinet. All the nasty things he said about Amin in Teso were the same things he said about Amin in cabinet. He was not going to bring Idi Amin back to Bari. He could not even touch him. And yet he has Idi Amin's son Taban, whom they used to trash in his intelligence, in his security. And so the thing is, Museveni is a flip-flopper. He's trying to figure out, divert people's attention from the heat. There's the heat over Kutesa's General Assembly presidency bid. There's the heat over America saying, get out of Sudan. There's the heat at home where people are saying, Museveni, enough is enough, get out. And you saw even his brother Salim Saleh in Luero trying to go and smooth things there and say, I'm tired of this, I'm retiring, because you cannot be buying votes all the time. When he went and tried to harmonize the candidature for the woman member of parliament in Luero, people, the first thing they said, where is the money? Because they know that's what they do. They have always been buying votes, and they have always distributed money. And so he arrives there, people are like, where is the money? And then he says, I hate this. And yet he has also been doing it for his brother. And so things are, the heat is on. The heat is on, my brother. The heat is on, my sisters. The heat is on, Ugandans. We must not relent. We must just move forward and continue putting pressure on this guy. Unless he comes out and says, I apologize for the wrongs I have done as Museveni, but not as the army. He cannot apologize for the army. He should apologize for himself. Then you will know he's telling the truth.
Yes. We have a saying here in America that goes right along with what you're saying, and it's liar, liar, pants on fire. Dorothy, comment to this, because it spins off from what she just said.
And give other people the chance, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your call, and I hope that the panel was able to answer some of the questions that you were asking there.
My last question is goes back to Honorable Zoe Bakoko, because Honorable
okay,
Zoe,
make it quick. Because we're gonna take a break right after this. Go ahead.
Okay, we've heard that the NSSF have put up the position for the MD, and they had to look outside Uganda. Why do you think they had to such a position of a MD to go outside Uganda? What do you think forced them to go outside Uganda?
Okay, we'll let Zoe go ahead and answer.
My brother, I think you have seen the workers are upset with whatever recommendations are being made in the reform of NSSF. At my time, I brought in 22 people from different organizations, including, the different departments, labor, finance, the different people who of trust, to talk about NSSF and come out with this strategic plan of how to manage this fund. And I think Ministry of Finance, there's been a lot of things going on. They have tried so much to grab this fund, and they are looking for ways of how they want to use this fund. And you also saw that they want to exclude workers from once they reform the law. What is going to happen is workers will not be consulted in how their money is utilized. And I think that was the last control you had over this money. And once workers are divorced from the management of this fund, it's not about, making this fund better. They have seen this money grow. I put the foundation. It has continued to grow and grow and grow. And now they have over 4 trillion. Everybody Museveni and his group are just, the saliva is dropping. They just want the money, that's all. And if they get the wrong person in that position, and the person is not from Uganda, how are you going to even put this person to account if something happens to this money?
Yeah, always accountability. We're going to take a few-minute break here. You're listening to Freedom at Hand this Sunday morning on Voice Uganda Radio. We'll be back with the last half hour of the show in just a few minutes.
This song is a dedication to all the Ugandans, wherever you may be, inside of the walls of Uganda or in the community of exile. Like unwanted children from the country that gave you birth, living amongst the free world. Rise up, my fellow Ugandans, as we fight against the dictatorship of the oppression of Museveni, for the rights of teachers, for the rights of government, for the rights of the justice system, trying to fight for the rights and the belief of the Ugandan people. Museveni has made a promise to Parliament of 150 million shillings to right the wrongs and to help them to make their lives whole again. Buying votes, buying the rights to rule the people for another 5 years, in a dictatorship that has just destroyed Uganda to almost an unrecognizable state? What about the promises to the rest of the people that he's made? When will he make true on those things? Or do they not matter because they don't have a vote to keep him into office? I tell you, my fellow Ugandans, there's nothing free and fair about the election that's coming up when a sitting president can offer these type of monies and funds to a group of people to make sure that he holds his powerful position. Members of Parliament, it can happen to you. The same promises he made to the teachers who have gone without salary, some of them for 2 months. The same promises that he's made to other leaders and others who've tried to rule and stand up against him, only to fall by the hands of death, by torture, by house arrest, by whatever means he feels the need needs to be to keep them in control. We live in a time, my fellow Ugandans, where one man, one family, and one group feels the need to speak for all. Where land grabbing has gone on so much that they own pretty much all of the country. Which daily they sell pieces of the country off to the highest bidder to continue to keep money in this man's hand, to fund his wars, to fund his battles, to bribe the community, to keep himself in power in whatever way he can, leaving the Ugandan people with such a debt that they will wake up one day and Uganda will no longer belong to the people, but will be bought and sold off in bits and pieces to the highest bidder, wherever the money and wherever the funds need to come to keep this man in power. For the truth and the justice, for the helpless, we stand and we fight on behalf of the Ugandan people to bring back wholeness and completeness back to the Ugandan people. This is not a battle of arms, but a battle of spirit, a battle of souls and of the mind of the people of Uganda. The public management bill was put in place to keep us quiet. We must rise, we must stand together, we must find strength in one another to move forward on behalf of our beloved Uganda. It is a country that our fathers, our grandfathers, our mothers and our grandmothers fought and worked the land to make it a place in which we could live and have a life and take care of our families. Too many Ugandans are living in exile, in communities out in the free world, like unwanted children from the country that gave them birth. It's time for us to stand hand in hand and enter back into the country and take it back to make it great for all Ugandans, especially the youth of the country, who have an 80% unemployment rate. Time and time again, companies have tried to go into Uganda to work with the Ugandan government, but corruption has fallen at the hands of the Ugandan people time and time again. It takes from the mouth of the hungry. There is no medicine. The hospitals are falling apart. The roads are undrivable. The country has become unrecognizable at the hands of one man who sells the country off piece by piece, bit by bit, to the highest bidder, to continue to bid his war, to continue to fund the people who will vote him in and keep him in a position of power over all. The day has come, my fellow Ugandans. We must stand up, we must unite, we must become one.
And thank you so much for coming back and joining us here at Voice Uganda Radio. You have been listening to Freedom at Hand with Miss Brenda, the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and Madam Dorothy. Heated conversation here this morning. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, we are down to our last 30 minutes of the program. I'll be announcing later on towards the end of the program a few announcements that I want to make to all of you. Musana made some interesting comments about boycotting the UN this year on what's happening there with Sam Kuteso. Those are some things that we're going to be having some meetings on in a couple of weeks that we will make you abreast of those things when they come about. I'm also, towards the end of the program, going to give you the address to the President, Barack Obama, here in the United States. So please get a pen and a pencil ready. I'm going to give out that address, and I'll make sure that we go out there and put it on our website. You need to write to him every day. Go out and buy a book of stamps and just send him a letter every day, even if it's the same letter, on why this doesn't need to take place. We will flood Washington, D.C. with so many letters and so much correspondence that we will not be ignored. So I'm going to be giving out that address at the end of the program. So please get a pen and a pencil ready, and I'll give you the direct address to the President of the United States. Ladies, when we were closing out, an interesting conversation came up about the children soldiers. We know that there has been unjust that has been happening there for years, with payment, with the soldiers starting to sell equipment, selling guns that were given to them for the war, selling anything they can to support their families at home. This man has no respect for the people who lay down their lives each and every day for a cause that is not their own but his. I don't know how we as Ugandans can respect such an individual that puts others in harm's way and doesn't even feel any remorse to take care of their families or them when they come back from war. Let's go ahead and comment on that in just a second. We got a call coming in. I'm going to take this call, but I want you guys to respond to that. Hey, caller, are you there? Introduce yourself and come on in. You're here at Freedom at Hand.
Yes, this is Mubiru Musoke, and
good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor.
I'm calling in because first of all, to express my appreciation for this discussion, and both the panel and the callers have learned a lot from the discussion and from the people who called in. I'm going to make a comment which is a very indirect. I'm not going to be direct to the discussion which you've been carrying on, and I have a reason for that. But we have to remember that society cannot be organized without morality. The morality is a very important thing. It's morality that makes us distinguish between right and wrong. And we have this feeling that democracy is possible without morality, or that politics is, in fact, the opposite of morality. But all these, I think, are false assumptions about the nature of organizing society. So what I want to point out it's a morality which allows us to distinguish between right and wrong, that makes us have a social system or a political system. If you can't judge what is right and what is wrong, or condemn what is wrong, you cannot either achieve democracy or make your politics acceptable. Let me point out about the child soldiers, for example. Why shouldn't child soldiers be allowed? Because it is immoral. You can't take your children and expose them to killing human beings. It's not right. And as a result, you destroy their conscience, their moral understanding of what society is all about. And this type of Savalan, which Mosana pointed out, this type of Savalan is a glorification of war atrocities, and that also is incompatible with the moral standing of our understanding of what society should be. Terrorism is indiscriminate killing of for political ends. And people, this has been going on in Uganda, terrorism. So what I'm trying to say is that we have been proceeding on the assumption that it is possible to achieve democracy in Uganda without attacking the moral decay that has gone on for some time in Uganda. It is impossible. We have to deal with, you can't separate morality from democracy. And the best example, for example, even here in the United States, is Donald Sterling, the the scandal. Why do you think Donald Sterling has been deprived of ownership of a sports organization? Because of morality. It's immoral. It is immoral for a person to preside over an institution while he is also racist and abusing people and mistreating them or regarding almost regarding them as if they are subhuman. So it is clear to me that we must have democracy. We must have not only morality but also political philosophy. What is lacking in Uganda? Whatever repair, whatever reforms we want to do, we have to remember that political philosophy is important. It is the one that brings morality to democracy. For example, political parties, the Democratic Party in the United States and the Republican Party, they have founded on philosophies on how to treat human beings. In Britain, there is the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. They are not different from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party here because they have the similar philosophy. The Labour Party is like a DP here, and the Republican Party is like the Conservative Party. So this is universal, and yet in Uganda you have a political party called the NRM that has no political philosophy, and it openly declares itself in Article 6 of its constitution that it is multi-ideological. That's a political monstrosity. The question is, how can people belong to a political party called the NRM and still say that they are fighting for democracy, or that they care about morality, or that they have a clear conscience about what is going on in society? It's impossible. So this is the source of our problem, and we have to realize it, and we have to fight it, and we have to make sure that we correct this, the very foundation of our politics. And I would say that in the end, if and when Museveni falls, of course he will fall, there should be a truth commission. Kalimagezi was talking about Museveni confessing about atrocities and regretting that they took place. Well, this man, we know what his character is. He knew that what was going on. He participated in what was going on. Guedeko was a commander in the NRM, in the NRA during the Bush War. We were told that he died from friendly fire while they were returning from a mission. But the same, they wanted to give his family the Kagera Award for his bravery, and yet they cannot reveal where this man, the body of this soldier was buried. Why? So you can't trust these guys. So when Museveni confesses, he's trying to save his face, but I can assure him one thing: the Truth Commission is coming. He doesn't have to tell us anything today, because we will find out. We will get to the truth. And what I'm trying to say, to appeal to Ugandans, is to appeal to their conscience and to stop being members of NRM, because it is an organization, a political organization without a political philosophy, and therefore a political organization without a moral conscience. So much as we have talked about all these issues, all I'm trying to point out is, in an indirect way, is that we are not going to democratize Uganda without realizing that actually you can't have democracy without morality, and you can't have politics without a philosophy, and a philosophy that gives you what is rational, what is rational today should be rational tomorrow and the day after. But what I see in Uganda and the NRM is they are pursuing their political interests. Like, Kutesa, you talked about Kutesa coming to the United Nations. All they are interested in is power, and that use it in whatever way they want to use it just to achieve their political objectives. But we are not going to allow that to happen. Because if we allow that to happen, then we will not be free, and we will never liberate ourselves. So I'll stop there and let the panel continue the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. It's always an honor to have you call into the program. Ladies, we're down to our last 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and give you your 5-minute closing statements, and then I'll come in at the end and close us out. So, Zoe, if you want to go ahead and go first, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
or Dorothy.
Hello, Ms. Brenda?
Yeah, if you prefer Dorothy to go first, that's fine. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda, but I think the clock is not right, because I tell you, we need to come back for this show. First of all, I would like to thank you ladies so very much. All our callers, there we go. Professor Mbiru, thank you so much. Because, I mean, what a lesson. Because this has been going in my mind back and forth, okay? Where are the morals? What are you bringing to the UN, okay? Because as our previous callers, Mr. Musana and Mr. Nseleko, so here is the man who is first of all, I have a question. Honorable Zoe, we need to come back to this topic. Miss Brenda, we need to come back, because I don't think we are done. How come the whole African continent, this man is running unopposed? We need to look into that. How did that happen? Okay? We need to figure that out.
Yes.
Now, here is my 5 minutes, because here is a guy. We have said everything we have said, but here is a guy with the dark secrets.
Yes.
A professional lawyer. You take somebody's child, this baby, a certain woman somewhere carried this baby for 9 months. They gave birth to this baby, took care of them until you found out that this child, 6, 7, 9, 10, is all what he's worth is taking a gun. They take away everything. Now these babies, you drag them to war. You take everything. They don't know how to play football, or no school, or no nothing. Then you take them as slaves, because this is slavery, more than death slavery, Miss Brenda.
Yes.
They pay these kids. You take away their money, everything. They come back, they suffer. Here you have a man who wants to be the president of UN. You have a bank. The insurance company and the U.S. government did pay these soldiers. Because I'm telling you, if they knew they were children, that would have been a different case. They boost their ears. The American companies and the insurance companies, they pay for whatever they've been doing in Afghanistan. Now they come back injured. Mothers, where are you? They come back injured. Kutesa, you swallow the money and you take the money in your bank. Kutesa, you earn 83 million shillings a day. You can't pay the poor workers who work at the airport. Kutesa, you advise Museveni. Children, soldiers in Southern Sudan, they die. In Congo, M23 and M18, Museveni funded rebel groups. You advise Museveni. In Congo, children are raped. Congo, ever since they said Uganda owes $10 billion to the Congolese government, Museveni, who are you waiting to pay? You took the money, you killed, you raped You took timber and gold and you steal from Congo. Who is going to pay? This is waiting for citizens of Uganda to pay when you have taken your route. Where is the integrity? And what integrity, once again, is Kutesa bringing to the UN and by the Museveni and your people? Why are you cutting short our children's lives to end other tribes and promote yours as we know it? Nodding disease. These things are planned. Okay? Taking these factors, Miss Brenda, they don't just take children. There are certain groups where they choose these children. Okay? They die in the war. This is intended. Cut their life short. Okay? Take away Uganda as we know. You take away all the kingdoms as we know. You divide the people as we know. And then create your Tutsi empire. Miss Brenda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We need to come back to this.
Yes, we will. Zoe, I'm going to come to you. Even if it eats into my time, it's okay. We have a caller. If you could make your comment as brief as possible, because we are rounding out the show. Go ahead, caller. Are you there?
Thanks, Miss Brenda, and the Honorable Zoe. My name is Chikicha Mogo. I usually call late. The reason today, anyway, I have a lot of things to talk about, but I'm not going to talk about it. Maybe I'll wait until maybe next weekend. But
yes.
Today, my request again, I've come back to putting more effort on my request for you to stand for us, because this time I'm suggesting maybe all Ugandans all around the world who are listening right now should maybe bring it as a debate and they call me too. Because me myself, I'm proposing you as maybe someone who could help us to take us to the next level. Because as I've seen things, I've heard since years have elapsed, years are going, and we have left with 1.5 years towards the elections. No one misses Miss Brenda, no one is going to come in. Some people are talented. I'm telling you this. Some people are talented. They can't come and lead Ugandans for the revolution. Some people are coming out. I can give an example like the general came out, but people, they still have that sort of what is good this, is good this, is good this. He tried to fight the system a long time ago. But people again, they will say he can't lead us. So let's find a neutral person to lead us. I'm proposing you, anyone opposing to this subject should call in to contribute to the forum, because we need to move forward. We've talked, in so many things, I'm telling you, Ms. Brenda, even some of the things people don't know or you don't know happening in Uganda. We talk to people in the country, they're telling us. We talk to people in the Yemen. Some of us were armed officers, but there is a lot happening. So, my contribution today, I'll come back next time, but please, I'm proposing you, I think, some other people, I think, maybe they have the same opinion like me. But
yes,
please,
and I'll address that.
And you go into Uganda's history as our own. We don't have any other Uganda who's going to come and step in. They are all tainted. Some are drinking in the same pot with the dictator, and they are just calculative. Some people are just securely riches. I'm telling you, I know things, we know things, and I know things. Thank you so much, Miss Brenda.
Yes, I understand, and I will address that on my last portion. I want to go ahead, if we can, and get to Zoe, because we are running out of time, and I will come back and address what you were sharing there when I get down to my last few minutes of the show. Zoe, go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and give you your 5 minutes on the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miss Brenda. I think we have had a wonderful 2 hours today. We started our show by giving a tribute to Kano Ogole, and I remember Mr. Chiwanuka saying, what we should stop on what divides us and focus on what unites us. And we know that the Museveni has used divide and rule to manipulate the communities, just like the Maracha and the Terego community in Uganda, which he gave as an example. People who have eaten their meat together, that's how we put it in Arua, that you slaughter a cow and people from Maracha and Terego would come together and eat, all the Lubaras, all the people in West Nile, irrespective of whether you were Mlendu, Ndu, or Lugara, Kakwa, or Madi, we all would sit down and partake of that meat. But today, he has fragmented the West Nilers into small bits, and people are fighting, and he enjoys that and thinks he will get his support out of that. But I can assure you that, Miss Brenda, people's eyes are being opened, and we are doing very well on this radio. That's part of coming together and,
Yes.
Educating the people, telling them, giving them all these examples so that people will understand what is at stake. And, talking about child soldiers, this has been an issue which has lasted for a long time. When NRM came into power, it was the first one which started the NRA, Bush people. They are the people who started recruiting child soldiers. And it is very unfortunate that they have continued to recruit child soldiers, and the child soldiers even today are fighting alongside the UPDF in Sudan. It is a disgrace, because the rights of the child, I faced the Commission on the Rights of Children in Geneva when we were talking about child soldiers at the time. And I know that child soldiers had been recruited by the NRA, and that these children were being put in schools, and that we were trying to stop this. But this is a system which has completely degenerated, and you don't even have child registration or birth registration at birth, which used to be done before, which ended with Idi Amin's government. And because of that, you cannot be able to know a child's age. And so they use that as a justification, but it is wrong because they know these are children, and the reason they recruit child soldiers is because they know children are fearless. You can manipulate them and make them do things which no adults who already have a conscience cannot do. And as the professor was saying before, because they know that they can destroy these children and handle them in their own way. It's horrible, it's sad, because this child is destroyed for life unless there's going to be another project, a psychosocial project, which is going to help this kid to recover after all these fights. And it's just not morally right that Honorable Kutesa, who is a lawyer, and who is what we call a learned lawyer, and then he's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's seeing all these things happening, and he wants to be to chair the General Assembly, even if Museveni is pushing him. I think he can do a very honorable thing. If he still has some little morality left in him, if he still has that small voice in him, he can step down and say, oh my God, I've read all these things. I can Google my own name and see all these things they're writing about me. Enough is enough. I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I think Africa must look for another candidate who is going to take that position. It's not going to be me. If he can do it, then he will have proved that he's a learned lawyer and that he still has some small morality left in him, as Professor Mubiru was talking about. And I know that silent voice is telling him something, but because of the pressure from his friend and his co-husband and family member, President Museveni, he's not going to take that advice, but it is all, the onus is all on him. Yeah. The nodding disease. Honestly, we are going to be surprised when probably the investigation results come out, but I know that for me, I will say this. The president is pretending and apologizing. Let him explain what happened in northern Uganda, why those children are having nodding disease. If he is very honest, because these are kids, he is the one whose lives have been, these children's lives have been entrusted to him. He is the leader. Let him give us accountability of what happened really in northern Uganda and not blame it on anybody. Don't blame it on Sudan. Don't blame it on Congo. Don't blame it on who. Just come out and frankly tell us why there's nodding disease in Uganda.
Yes. And
because I remember, I will end on this. I remember a families in Rhino Camp, West Nile, along the Nile, the fishing community. They bought a bag of corn flour from the army. And this corn flour had been adulterated with some chemical or whatever it was. And when these people ate it, many members of the family died. The others went paralyzed. And so that can give you information on what could be happening in northern Uganda with nodding disease. And so if the president says, I'm apologizing, let him tell us what he's apologizing for. And so Ugandans, go out and sign this petition against Kutesa. Sign the petition.
And I'm going to go ahead and close it out. We only have a minute left here before our next program comes here on the Sunday lineup here at Voice Uganda Radio. Let me just say this. There's meetings going to be taking place in a few weeks. We are coming together. We are uniting. Trust me when I say I am honored in every way of your trust in me to be able to stand hand to hand with my sisters and brothers across the table to make discussions and to determine what is going to be best for the Ugandan people. I understand the last caller's plea. Trust is a big issue for all of us, but know that the meetings that we're starting to have, we're starting to unite in a big way. When we make those announcements on radio, you'll understand why. We talked a lot about coming together as one, and we understand and we know that that has to be done. We've also made some decisions that this program has become a popular one that's running here on Sunday morning. So join us. We're going to start this program 30 minutes early next Sunday. We will be starting it at our time here at 7:30 instead of 8 o'clock. So whatever your listening zone is, we'll be coming on 30 minutes earlier from this point forward to with this show. Running unopposed, that's our topic for next week. How can a leader of 32 million run totally unopposed, that there's no one in the country that can run against him? What does his wife have to say about this? And how can he truly say he's leading the Ugandan people? We didn't get a chance to go back and talk too much about Janet Museveni today, but we will next week because there's still so much discussion to continue to have on that topic. But running totally unopposed in a country of 32 million, we have to figure out how that can happen and what we need to do against that. We will be making some announcements about what we're going to do as a standout for the United Nations, probably in the next week or two, so make sure you stay tuned to Voice of Uganda Radio for that. We have already posted out there the address for the President of the United States. If you have a pen, I'm going to give you that address really quick. This is what I want you to do. Go buy a book of stamps. Buy 2 book of stamps. Dedicate that book of stamps only to envelopes that will go to Washington, D.C. over the next 2 weeks. You can type one letter and make sure you mail that letter every day. You can say something different in that letter every day, but every day for the next few weeks, promise me, my fellow Ugandans, you all said, what can we do? How can we get on board? How can we make a difference? Sam Kutesa cannot be a president over the assembly this year in the United Nations. Write off to the president and let him know your concerns and why. Send your letters to to President Barack Obama, the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Ave, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20500. Again, address that to President Barack Obama, to the attention of the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, That is in Washington, D.C. The zip is 20500. Those of you who have Facebook accounts, you can go out to Facebook to our Voice of Uganda Radio link. That address has been put out there for you. Move forward. Everyone who's called in today has told you that the power is in our hand. Buy one book of stamps for the next 2 weeks. Every single day when you leave your house to go to work, you put a letter in the mail for it to go out that day to the President of the United States of America. We are more powerful than you think we are. If we unite, we stand together on this cause. God bless you all. Thank you so much for being a part of Voice Uganda Radio and being a part of this program this morning. All our callers, thank you so very much. Please stay tuned here today at Voice Uganda Radio for the rest of our upcoming programs. Thank you. God bless. And thank you so much to the Honorable Zoe Bakoko. It is always a pleasure. And Madame Dorothy for your input on today's program. You have been listening to Miss Brenda. And this has been Freedom at Hand on Voice Uganda Radio.